Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. I am having so much fun having flown in this morning to Ocean City, New Jersey, which is where my family has a place on the bay. So I'm in a different place. I already feel so much more at ease and relaxed. The sun is shining, the water is sparkling, and I'm going to have some great time with my mom and two sisters this weekend. I'm so looking forward to it. And today we want to talk to you about a beautiful analogy we have both come to know about how to let things go. Sometimes those things may also include people, to allow space for new to come in and what that looks like. Because we have been not only ourselves experiencing this, but we've seen kind of a collective shift where there's been a lot of transition in people's lives. And it can be hard to walk through those transitions with grace. It can be painful sometimes, based on what that transition is, but keeping at the forefront that sometimes there is beauty that lies ahead can be really, really impactful and helping to take you by the hand through a seasonal change. So I'm excited about this topic.
I am also excited because I know it's relevant for both of us. And we both have been taught a analogy and just basically an understanding and a heart place of it's a train concept, basically. Or imagine if you're even getting on an airplane or something, we're just going to use a train. So imagine if you were getting on a train and it has multiple stops along the way. And you basically at each stop, some people get on and some people get off. And sometimes you're really surprised by the person that gets on. And sometimes you may be super surprised by the person that gets off. And when you look at this metaphor in the sense of your business and in your life, it means that there's going to be people that are with you for a period of time. And there may be people with you for a really, really long period of time. And maybe just the next season is just for 30 minutes, 3 months, maybe 3 years. We can't predict the longevity of what that journey may look like. And I know for the stuff that I've experienced and the people that I work with, sometimes it can be really paralyzing when somebody leaves and when somebody is no longer a part of your journey. And it can also be really heart-wrenching. Like I've had friendships in my life that I thought I would literally ride or die till the moment I died, dreamed up that we were going to have trenches underneath our house were going to be right next door to each other. And we are no longer in that type of a relationship. And it can be really devastating. And it almost feels like a breakup when those types of things happen. And when then it happens within a business, it can also make you feel like I just talked to somebody this past week. She was like, I am almost more afraid to hire somebody on because I don't want to put the energy and the training into this person because what if they leave in 6 months? And I was like, oh, but that's like the worst type of expectation for one, because, and we worked through it and really dove into this process because at the end of the day, I have to trust and know that the people in my life are there for a purpose, for a reason, and sometimes for a season, right? And so when they are there for that purpose, reason, and season, they're going to add to it. But then if that season is over, then somebody else is going to add, and also it's going to release something that is necessary to go. And so that is just the concept that we want to share with you today and the relevance of what we've both discovered when it comes to our own teams, because I know that it can be so hard. And sometimes you're just in a season of your practice or your business to where you are just trying to put a hot, warm seat in your team and just to basically be able to do the work you need to do. But then also there comes this time where it's like you're doing the work for yourself and you're actually looking for the people that you want for the longevity or for a longer period of time. And I'll share a story here in a little bit, but because we were just going through a process where all of a sudden God just was like, hey, this person's meant to not be here anymore. And just to be able to have the perspective of, and not react in this place where I'm like, oh my freaking God, now I'm devastated, everything stops. And I'm like, no, my train is still going. And if it's time for you to get off, it's time for you to get off. And so that has just been a really beautiful thing to be able to uncover and to know. And I know you've had to navigate this with team, you've had to navigate it with friendships as well. And just, I know that it can be just, like we said, just very paralyzing if it's not something that is rooted inside of you, where you have the confidence in yourself and the confidence in your mission. And that, and I know, I don't know about you, but I know this is for me true from myself. When we add new people in, it always brings new energy. And it always brings so much fun. Sure, there's work. There's work to train people, right? But there can also be systems in place to be able to help that process happen. So share with me a little bit of your journey with that as well, because I know it's obviously very relevant for you too.
Ooh, where do we start? I actually feel that part of my own journey with my own heart work honestly had to start way back with family. There is this underlying tone within my inner DNA that it just leads into like feelings of abandonment. And when I was younger, parents got divorced. There are beautiful things that happened as a result of that, but it still broke our core family unit. And there is healing that has to happen through that. And when I realized that I felt like I was so strong and I was healed through that process because I created a positive outcome from it. And our family now, years and years later, if my mom and dad are in the same room, you wouldn't even necessarily know that they were divorced. Like, they showed up to my graduation to support us. They've always shown up to support us kids. They've always put us first. Yeah. And I think that's what's kept us so close and together as a family unit, because they always put us first. Even when they were married, their kids came at the forefront. But there was healing that had to come from me from that. It wasn't just, no, you're strong because you made this a positive outcome. Like, there was deeper rooted processes that were in my system with that. And that led into friendships. As I was growing and becoming more of an adult, that led into always being a people pleaser in the hopes that if I did positive, beautiful things for them, that they would never leave me and that I would always have people around me. And I definitely was that social butterfly person where I could mold myself into every social group and always be surrounded and find a friend and create a connection and make someone else feel seen. But the healing I had to do was like, at what consequence to me did that do that? By constantly pouring into others and making them feel seen, who was actually pouring back into me? Yeah. And that was part of one of the pivotal points in realizing it's okay if people don't put into your friendship as much as you do. Mm-hmm. It's okay if people get off the train. You don't have to hold them to try and keep them there, because in fact, you are then blocking energetically new stuff from coming in. Yes. It is okay to say, I have 2, 3 best friends and a lot of acquaintances, mm-hmm. right? Because a best friend is really like your ride or die person. You know that if you are in a dangerous situation, like, that person is there for you. You are there for that person. That's mm-hmm. it. Right. But there was a lot of times I was like, oh yeah, I have 5 best friends in New Jersey, and I have 5 best friends in Iowa, and I have 10 best friends across seas, and I have all these besties around the world. And I like felt powerful from that. I felt worth from that, when truly, like, no, those weren't best friendships. Those weren't the people that I showed my most like raw, honest, like, not perfect being to, right? And so healing and working through that. And even with seasonal times and development times, right? As you develop and as you grow as a person, you may outgrow the people that you're around. 100%. And if you don't surround yourself with other people that are also trying to grow and also trying to improve in their lives, mm-hmm. you're going to feel stuck. Yeah. And then you get into this kind of game where if they're not healthy and doing their own work, they might look at your growth in a jealous, unproductive, egotistical way, in the sense mm-hmm. that they might start to shun you down, and then you start to dim your own light. Yeah. But it's the truth. Like, a designer bag in one room is going to mean something totally different to 5 people than a designer bag in another room with 5 other different people, right? Like, people value different things when it comes to internal work. If you're not around other people that also value that and support you through that journey and are there to see you through that, that can be really hard. Mm-hmm. And that led into, there's just been different ties with family. I always grew up having a very close family on my mother's side, even more so than on my dad's side. And I always felt and always dreamed and thought that it would be us against the world forever. And that broke down very fast. And we're still estranged with a lot of that side of the family. And it's heartbreaking. And there's a lot of healing that has to come through that. But if I try and force something to happen, what am I actually trying to create versus what needs to organically happen for both parties to come together to have equal healing and to move forward.
Yeah.
This happens in business. And so all of those things that I have dealt with in my personal life as a leader, I can easily bring into the business. And I had this like eat, pray, love, come to Jesus moment back in kind of between like February to March time of just this recent year, where I opened my practice in December of 2022. There's a theme around the Chiro world or in startup world where the team that you open your practice with or open your business with is not necessarily the team that's going to scale and grow your business. And that definitely was the case. I hired 3 individuals. 2 out of the 3 ended up moving on. One moved on last September-ish time because she was just interested in finance and just needed to continue on in her finance career. She worked with us. It was great. We love her. Everything was status quo. Another team member, I felt kind of blindsided by this one. She just came to me right before our break and just shared that she needed to move on for personal reasons and things that were more out of my own control about what needed to happen in her life. But that came also at a time where another individual, just culturally, things started to break down in the practice amongst team. And this individual decided to take a step back and then take a further step back and then kind of just fall by the wayside in a not so healthy manner. And when those double whammies came together, it shook my whole system.
Yeah.
I was like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? What am I not doing enough of? Is it this? Is it pay? Is it team culture? Is it work hours? Is it mission? Is it relatability? But the lucky thing is we do so many one-on-ones and so much development that I'm constantly trying to check in with them. And it's like, no, you've done everything to create an environment for this. Some people, for reasons that are outside of what you have any knowledge of or privy to, control of, need to just move on in their own space. And as so terrible and hard that was, because we had even hired someone in November who was going to be full-time, and they ended up saying that they had had a very traumatic prior work experience that led into their experience as they started to get trained and work in hours. They hadn't dealt with that enough that it was starting to bring that up into their heart, and they left after a month. And funny enough, I met someone literally 2 days after I had hired this first person, and she had, are you hiring? I just was looking you guys up on social media. We were at like a market fair together, and she's like, just checking in. Like, do you have a job available? And I was like, oh, I just filled the position, but can I keep you in mind in the future if something opens up? She was like, yeah, absolutely. So this other person doesn't last more than a month. And so I reach out to this woman who had approached me, and I was like, hey, are you still interested? We actually have an opening. And she was like, yeah. And we put her through the interview process. She is such a beautiful fit for the practice. And if that person had not left the practice with their own trauma and their own stuff and the things that they needed to do to handle it versus me trying to force, oh, well, we can put you in this role, or we can kind of fit you into this space, or let me try and navigate to make you feel happier in a space versus worrying about what my team really needs, I would have never had the capacity to hire this other individual. And as those 2 left in that February, March, like back-to-back time, oh my gosh, it opened an opportunity for me to revisit systems, for me to reframe and walk into this new season. We had tremendous growth from April to June this year. We had 3 of our best months in practice since opening. And it's just incredible. Again, energetically, what moves when you let that stuff that doesn't need to be there or is not meant to be in that space anymore fall by the wayside, and accept it, understand it, and then move forward so that you can walk into that open space with trust. Because there's almost this like inner strength that you need to have in the sense that if everything goes to shit, I know that I will make it happen. Like I have trust within myself that I will do the work that needs to be done. I have trust in God and the universe that they always have my back and they are always helping to drive that energetic needle forward with the work that I am doing to lead with my heart and to put myself first and to take care of my team and culture and let that leak into our practice member experience. And we've had this incredible opportunity where I got to hire my first male team member.
It's
and I had
incredible.
never been in, my first two practices, we didn't have a male practice. I have helped other males open their practices. I've been in other offices and teams that had male doctors, care advocates, the whole gamut. I had just not experienced it from a leader standpoint. And so it was a new field that I hadn't explored. But oh my gosh, what a beautiful blessing that this individual is in our practice. And what a sweet individual and person this is. And we would have never had the opportunity to experience that if those other two didn't go.
Yeah.
And so you just don't know what's ahead of you and what's in front of you without that. And I feel like the team I have right now is a team that is very focused on wanting to be present, totally bought in on the mission, wanting to develop systems and procedures that move it forward. And my one veteran team member who has been with me through the practice, she has stuck with it through it all. It's amazing. Sometimes, like you said, you don't expect the people to get off your train to be the ones.
Right.
I think I have said this in a prior episode. The team member that I've had the longest, if you would have asked me when I first hired everyone who was going to be there the longest and in that chief heart officer or that more office manager kind of left-hand man role right now, woman role, I would not have said it was this person.
Yeah.
I want everyone to be on my practice and in my space for years and years. But again, that's a little bit of my shit of feeling like I was being abandoned or that I wasn't good enough for them to stay.
Yeah.
And so there's a constant development and a constant work that you need to do. I think about it like an oyster that is forming a pearl, right? There's just constant chiseling of the marble statue. And I felt like through these stages, I was being chiseled into that next level leader, that next level person that I needed to be. And it's beautiful how things in business can help you heal through personal and expose personal. Things in your personal life can expose ways that you interact with your team on a business level. And so you need to be always doing that. You need to have that as a part of your life because it can bleed into everything. And then also just having the trust and faith that when certain people leave, it really can open an opportunity for something better to come along.
It's so true. And I loved how you brought it back to, this is why we did this podcast. You brought it back to the place of you in your process, what you've had to uncover from a childhood all the way through friendships, all the way through your business. And it's so true. Like they say it in marriage too. Your marriage exposes so much about yourself into your relationship at the same time. And I've had to learn that so much. Going from a space of, we hired 3 team members when I first, technically I had 2, but I had another doc with me for a while, for like 2 weeks. So we had 2 team members to start, added a third pretty fast. Those 3 that I hired are no longer with me. In the same vein of thinking that they would have been with me for a very, very long time. They were for a while, but as we started to scale and as we started to grow, they just weren't the next people to take it to the next space. And so, and I also had to, it's very eye-opening and very beautifully targeting on the sense of how it affects me as a human. And I grew up in a household that I became an adult pretty fast. You guys got to hear my story just a couple episodes ago, and just the reality of my story influenced a lot of how I saw the world. And pretty much I had to be the one to fix people's problems. I had to be the one to lead everything. I had to be the one to make sure everybody was kind of put together in a little bubble and just taken care of. And so, and very mothering nature. And I've learned a lot in the sense of, I don't know if I experienced the full mother aspect from my mother. We were really close as I was growing up, but she was more of a best friend than an actual mother. And so I kind of took on this role of being a mother to a lot of my, my brother, but then also to a lot of my friends, which then later led into what that looked like as a team. And it was very easy for me to try to mother and caretake people's opinions, thoughts, and their actions based on creating this thing. So again, it made me feel a lot better about myself, and it gave me a lot of value. It gave me a lot of worth because of that process. And to be able to see where that came from and then really ask God to give me the sense of, hey, I'm noticing this, I'm seeing this. Now, will you help me heal through this process? And to be able to catch that and then see when those behaviors come again and catch that again and ask, okay, I'm seeing this come back again. Will you help me heal this? And that was what kind of started just the process for me, to where when somebody would then leave, it wouldn't literally take the floor out from underneath me, because for a while it did. It was devastating. Like, it was just like, what is happening? Like, why can't I keep these? And honestly, I talked to so many other business owners, so many other chiropractors in the same world that experience very similar stuff, to where a team leaves and everything almost stops. It's like you can't keep moving because you're so afraid that something. And ultimately, for everybody that's listening, I would just invite you, if you experience an emotion like that, it's a beautiful opportunity to really look at why it's affecting you and what's happening and what is that creating inside of you, to say, hey, I may feel this fear, I may feel this like lack. Where does that come from? And really, at the end of the day, because that it goes to somewhere, right? It goes to this limiting belief that says, hey, I'm not worth it. I'm not loved. I'm not valuable. I'm not good enough. Something, like, and that's a beautiful opportunity to ask God to give you the space to be able to see it and receive the care and the love that you are looking for. Because ultimately, in the day, you and I have learned this, a team member is not going to give that to us, right? A friendship, our spouse, like no other person can give us that worth, that value, that love that we know to be true, that comes from inside. And I had a situation in my office where I thought she would be with us for a little longer too, and had a doc in my office just come to me about literally about a month and a half ago, and just said, like, I feel like my heart is wrestling with this space of just curiosity of whether I'm on mission or on vision with where we're going. And I remember literally listening to her, and God kind of just talked to me in that moment of like, I just want you to listen, and I just want you to hear what she's saying, instead of just immediately overacting and like being able to handle a conversation that's all of a sudden like blows you out of the, it's like I had no preparation for what she was getting ready to tell me, like that type of stuff. And it was really neat because in that moment I was able to hear her heart, and I was able to actually hear her heart from a space of, again, she's a human. She's got something that God is talking to her about too. And it's, if I remove her and me, she's not against me. She's just trying to be honest with me. And also at the same time, like if I'm not attached to her identity and her decision on that, it allowed me to then say, like, okay, I can just have a conversation. Yes, I'm still her employer, I'm still her boss, but I can also meet her where she's at and understand what's going on, instead of just like being like, well, crap, well, now you're fired because you're not on mission, and there is a transition that is happening. She's no longer going to be with our practice. But that was over a month and a half time where we were navigating what that looked like. And eventually it became very clear that her time was just not meant to move forward. But I'm not bent out of shape with it. It's been very much a very peaceful, beautiful journey, because it's something that I know that her journey is going to impact so many more people, but it's her journey, and it doesn't have to be with me for that to be a truth. But that has, it has taken some work to be able to get to that point, It's not an easy thing to go in a space where you can be okay with yourself to say, this person does not identify with my value if they're no longer with me anymore.
Oh, yeah. And I almost, not that I ever want any one of us to go through any hardships, but it's our adversities and our hardships that really build grit. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you might have to experience those freaking in the gut feelings with a person on your team leaving, or a person from your life getting off your train, to know that the next time that comes along, you've got it. Yeah. You can handle it, right? Because very easily, like your client that you were sharing, they are now walking into next interactions with potentially their next beautiful energy that's supposed to be in their space, with a fear-based mindset of like, well, I have to have a wall up and I have to be defensive, and I always have to be thinking that they're going to leave as the worst case scenario to try and protect myself and protect my heart and my feelings against my fears. It's like, okay, well, now what are you stopping from being able to develop? What are you projecting into that next interaction and relationship that person doesn't deserve and hasn't even walked into your space yet? Right? I am around this time that people were starting to transition through in the office. My veteran team member came to me with life goals of wanting to start a family. And immediately my brain went, oh, holy shit. here we go. I'm going to have to figure out something in 9 months. She's going to get pregnant so fast. We're going to figure it out. And it's just going to be crazy. What am I
Had
doing?
that happen before.
Yeah, right. And you're just like, oh my God. But to your point, I didn't say crap. I just listened to her sharing the goals and dreams she has for her life. And I want her to have those goals and dreams. Oh my gosh. I want to be along the ride to watch people enjoy their life, not just our practice members, but our team members, our family, our friends, everybody, right? I want to see everybody living their best, biggest version of themselves in all the abundance and things. And so just sitting back and learning that, I mean, just through life's processes and patterns, this was a conversation we had in February. It's July. And we're still not at that stage quite yet. So if I had gone into this interaction and constantly been like, okay, well, now I just need to start looking, or now I can't train her into the next role, I wouldn't have given her the promotion that she got and invited her into this next space of leadership that she totally deserves and embodies. And what would that have stopped for my practices, growth, and movement forward? Right? But it's so hard because when you're faced with those situations, like, I'm going to get emotional. It literally can feel like a part of yourself is dying. Like, I think back to our family situation, and we can still be in physical vicinity with each other. And when we like pass each other and there's like that no hello, like it's devastating. It's in your gut, heart-wrenching, right? Because you also, sometimes we create these visions and these dreams of what we want that to look like. And we put so much faith and stock into moving through life with a partner, with a relationship, with a team, with a fellow associate, with a family member. And then something changes in their life or something changes in your life, and that vision goes away and that dream changes. And it can be almost harder to let go of the idea of what you wanted it to be versus the reality of what it is. And when you go through that and you watch other people go through that, sometimes when you experience the change yourself and you've done the work, you almost want to like shake them and be like, I promise you it is going to get better. Let it fucking go. Okay. But you
sucks in the moment.
You can't. Like, people have to almost go through that process and that pain and that adversity to build the trust in themselves and the understanding that, no, I can do this. I can move forward. One of my favorite, there's a philosopher out there. His name is Khalil Gibran. He wrote like a bunch of different poems, and I read his book when I was in high school. And one of the poems that really stuck with me the most is the story of joy and sorrow and how these two emotions, these two feelings really are married to each other. You cannot experience the joy of something unless you've experienced the lack of it, right? He gives an example of like a flute, right? You cannot hear that beautiful music of a flute without burning the tree, chopping the wood, tearing it apart, carving into it to make a beautiful sound. You cannot create a chalice or a wine glass to fill with wonderful liquid of life. I'm Italian. We love wine. Without first like literally carving the bowl or the cup part of this glass or this chalice, or burning the glass and shaping it. You don't have one without the other. And how beautiful is it that we get to experience joy from something, and we can choose to find the joy and find the meaning in all of our experiences. But typically, if you don't have the foresight to see it, it's because you haven't truly experienced the loss. And so whenever I start to feel those feelings of sadness, of something else happening in someone's life or something changing in mine, I just remember that how do I even know yet what joy will come through this hardship or this pain if I don't pick it up, evaluate what my feelings are? Because you have to acknowledge your feelings. You have to sit in those feelings. It's okay to see it. You don't have to just put your big girl panties on and like go about your day and be the hard rock boss. Like it's also okay to say I'm human too. And these are feelings that are coming up with me. I don't have to react with them. I can reflect and respond and work through what those feelings mean or what they're coming from and learn something new about myself, discover a new layer. But then how much healthier do you walk into those further situations? And then again, you build the grit. As people come to me, as a team member shares that they were going to be full-time and now they're going to be part-time because they're going back to school to be a chiro, I don't have to walk in fear of like, oh my God, here we go again. I almost get to like laugh about it and say, this is amazing. I love being a place that can facilitate people to continue to grow and develop and do the things that they want to do in their lives. Look at you. You had like how many pregnant doctors
Oh my
on
gosh.
your team. Oh, it was like team member pregnant, doctor pregnant, team member pregnant.
We have a
doctor
joke
pregnant.
that we have always there's 2 people pregnant in my office. And a funny thing, if you know anything about our practice, is I tend to, for some reason, I'm hiring the childbearing ears of my people. But it's funny. I mean, we really truly have. I've had 2 people pregnant and on maternity leave typically the whole time. And for a while, that wasn't easy because all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, now I got to figure this out. And I was like almost afraid of the pregnancy, afraid of the thing for that for somebody. But also at the end of the day, like, what a freaking gift. I have people in my office that are going through the exact same stage to which that is our main clientele. Why would I not want that in my practice? And why would I not look at that as such a gift? And why would that not be such an opportunity? And like, we've navigated it. You have to figure out systems for sure, but you have an opportunity to be able to bridge that gap for your team. But also, like, if I was looking at that with a closed grip and like I'm in a straight jacket with it, like I'm going to do that for my team as well. And they're going to think, oh crap, I can't go tell my boss that I'm pregnant, like, or that I'm experiencing that, or that I want that for my family.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, I'm still making choices for us moving forward. If they have a family and then they can't be a part of our practice, that's still their choice. I'm going to still keep going forward, but I can still be excited and be a part of that life with them. And so I love it. And also thank you for sharing your heart. I love the opportunity just to hear more about that for you as well. And just, I know you and I get to do this back and forth so many times just on Marco Polo and just our friendship, but I'm so grateful for our listeners being able to hear your heart in that too. And it is not an easy thing when you've gone through the process of uncovering why a lot of those things are there in the first place. It is so freaking worth it. And it is worth the time and the energy to know so much more of yourself and to be able to look back on maybe those dreams aren't where they are now. And also, I know for my life looks so much different than what I would have expected 10 years ago, but it's so much more beautiful, and it's so much more richer and it's so much more full of vibrancy. There are still things that I'm hoping for healing in for other aspects of life so that they potentially can collide with where I'm at. But that's the part to which I just get to trust God that he's going to do his work and I'm going to just keep living my life and stepping one foot in the front of the other and be as present as possible. So
totally. And keep the doors of your train open so that
100%.
people can come off and you let them off so that you don't prevent what needs to happen in their life and their cycle and their journey, while also allowing your train to continue to move forward for new to come on that continues to grow and expand your heart and your life in ways you may not have even imagined possible, or maybe can't see in this moment because you're in the middle of that emotion. You're in the middle of that phase of life. It's almost just waking up each day and just trusting that every day it's going to get a little bit better. And you're going to continue to make decisions and make moves to move yourself forward in that because you have that trust and you have that faith in yourself and your heart.
So thank you so much for listening with us today, you guys. We appreciate it. And I hope you took something from this. This was from our heart to your heart. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. If you like the show, please rate it, go follow us, share it with your friends. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.